like you as a car dealership having 100 cars in inventory sitting in a warehouse that you need to sell, but instead you're trying to hand make bicycles and sell those. It's stupid. And seeing what other countries are doing with their taxes and how they run their societies was a big eye-opener to me as to why I wasn't happy living in Canada anymore. This is A Day with Clay. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around for episode 3 of whatever this creation is. Today we're going to talk about something a little bit more juicy. I want to give a little bit more explanation as to why I moved from Canada, why I left and went to Mexico. There is honestly a laundry list of reasons why I made this move, but today I want to focus more on the more so economical / financial. And when I say financial and tie it to economical, I don't mean that I want to go somewhere else so I can make more money. I mean, it doesn't really matter where in the world I went. If I left Canada, no matter where I went, I'd be paying less taxes. But then there's always the issue of how do I source my income? That's a whole different conversation, but I'm talking more about the currency of money itself. So I've found myself in the last couple of years being a lot more involved and paying a lot more attention to what other countries are doing, whether it be politically or economically, and more often than not, they are very linked together. And I think a lot of it started when people were talking about Dubai and all these other Middle Eastern countries where you pay so minimal tax, but yet what you get for your tax dollars seems to not equate to what we have in Canada and the United States. And to follow the rules of Jordan Henderson and the Nomad Capitalist, you need to go where you're treated best and you need to go where you're most aligned with how they're operating the country. Because while I was living in Canada, I was watching how the country was operating financially and where the money was being allocated from tax dollars. And quite frankly, I was not impressed. I was watching one of the largest landmass countries in the world that's full of resources, has some of the most trees in the world, some of the most water in the world, and a shitload of oil. But yet the country is poor and running on a deficit. So what went wrong? I believe government intervention, which ultimately ends in corruption, plays a huge part in this. Because if Canada wanted to be an economic superpower and be a financially free country, they could. Because like I said, we have all the resources in Canada. If anything, we lack the people to do the work, which is why immigration comes into play. But if your policies are driving people away, then you're not making any progress. A couple of the countries that have been making a lot of changes in the last couple of years, I've been paying close attention to, and one of them is El Salvador and one of them is Argentina. Argentina about 100 years ago was the wealthiest country in the world. And now we look at them and they have huge issues with hyperinflation and people not being able to make enough money to afford their lifestyle. And just this last year, they elected a new conservative president. Actually, I think he ran as an independent or a libertarian. And the media makes him out to be this giant kook because he had some big displays and had some choice words for individuals. But at the end of the day, he set on a mission to regain the financial status that Argentina once had. And he actually gave a speech at the World Economic Forum that was 25 minutes long that I will link down below. And he starts off with giving a little bit of a history on what open market capitalism is and libertarianism. And he's able to really well explain that markets don't fail. Open free markets do not just fail, they always course correct. And as long as you are continually bringing a better service at a better price and bringing more value to the table, you will always be winning. Because at that point, it's the market that's dictating where the success is going. It's only when government puts their hands in too many pockets, tries to regulate things, oversee, make too many policies, which ultimately ends up in corruption, that's when markets fail. And the media may make Milei out to be some right-wing conservative, which we all know basically means he's in the middle. And he's doing exactly what he set out to do. He took their equivalent of the House of Commons and he cleaned house, literally. And he replaced everyone in their seats with equal representation left and right. And do you know what Argentina just posted in the last quarter? Their first month in a financial surplus in a very, very long time. He cut a lot of government spending and actually allocated finances appropriately. Another country that I've been watching is El Salvador. And for the longest time, over the last few years, I've heard a lot about El Salvador it being a safe haven for cryptocurrency. How they were accepting Bitcoin as a form of currency. So they're forward thinking, they're down for innovation, they're bringing in investment and bringing in people with wealth. So what this guy did is he made a giant prison and slowly, one by one, he was picking up all the gangsters, all the thugs, all the people that were causing problems, all the corrupt politicians, and he put them all in jail. And since then, the status of the country of El Salvador has done nothing but skyrocket. Construction is going up anywhere, along with development. More people are going there because it's now one of the safest countries in the Americas. And he sees right through the financial system that is the US dollar, which is why he's such a big believer in cryptocurrency in the first place. So I want to show you a 2-minute clip of a speech that he made that was actually 25 minutes long. I'm going to link the full video down below. And he made this speech at the Consrvative Political Action Convention just this year in February in Washington, D.C. So let's just shrink me down. Okay, take a listen.
When I talk to my conservative friends right here, they always tell me that the problem is high taxes, but they're wrong. Of course, high taxes are extremely high here in the United States. I give you that. You're right in that.
He mentions high taxes, but you'll notice here he mentions it's not about them having high taxes. It's what they're doing with the tax dollars and where our money as taxpayers is actually going that's the problem.
But that's not the real problem. The real problem is not the high taxes themselves, but the fact that they are not even really funding the government. Not even those high taxes, higher than a lot of places in the world, not even those taxes are really funding the government. So who's financing the government? Government is financed by treasury bonds, paper. And who buys the treasury bonds? Mostly the Fed.
When he mentions the Fed, for those of you who don't know, they mean the Federal Reserve.
And how does the Fed buy them? By printing money. But what backing does the Fed have for that money being printed? The treasury bonds themselves. So basically, you finance the government by printing money out of thin air. Someone could ask, well, so if the government can print the limited amounts of money out of thin air, why did they collect taxes?
And that's the question that a lot of people are asking. I've seen on a Tim Bilyeu podcast, because essentially it's counterfeit. If I were to get caught counterfeiting money, printing my own money, I would go to jail. But if a privately owned bank entity that prints money in order to buy treasury bonds that are created by the United States government, then that's okay. Let's continue.
In theory, it would make sense, right? If they can print unlimited amounts of money, why would they need taxes for? The answer is simple, but it's very shocking. The real problem is that you pay high taxes only to uphold the illusion that you are funding the government, which you are not. It's shocking, but it's true. The government is funded by money printing, paper backed with paper, a bubble that will inevitably burst. The situation is even worse than it seems, because if most Americans and the rest of the world were to become aware of this farce, confidence in your currency would be lost, the dollar would fall, and the Western civilization with it.
So that's a really powerful statement that he's saying that basically it's only a matter of time before the dollar collapses along with civilization around it with it. So let's backtrack here. When I mentioned Dubai and all these Middle Eastern countries that people are going to where they pay next to no tax, but yet you look around and the streets are clean, everything is beautiful, there's no crime. So why is it that a country that doesn't collect any high taxes can have all these luxuries that, we struggle to be able to pay for in Canada through our tax money, even though we're spending billions of dollars in taxes? So why are they able to have that and we aren't? And most people, when I ask them that question, their answer is, Saudi Arabia, they got oil money. They're a hierarchy and they have oil money and all this. What does Canada have? Canada has the second biggest oil reserves in the world. So why aren't they collecting big oil money? And why don't they actually utilize their resources instead of being in a shitty trade deal with other countries where they're basically getting bent over and getting the shitty end of the stick in every single trade that they make, and Canada's just losing dollars over it? It's like you as a car dealership having 100 cars in inventory sitting in a warehouse that you need to sell, but instead you're trying to hand make bicycles and sell those. It's stupid. And seeing what other countries are doing with their taxes and how they run their societies was a big eye-opener to me as to why I wasn't happy living in Canada anymore. And it's not that I don't want to pay taxes. I don't mind paying some taxes. Do I want to pay 60% of my total income in taxes? Because if you were to break it down, it's actually really terrifying. Once you factor in income tax, property tax, taxes on goods, carbon tax, which just went up, people are paying almost 65% of their earned income to taxes. And tell me, what are you getting in return? Are you getting good healthcare? Some of the worst in the world. How about education? That is slipping through the cracks heavily on a downward trajectory. Not to mention all the bullshit propaganda that they're teaching kids in the school to begin with. Well, are they at least serving good social programs? Are they helping the homeless? No, the tax money goes towards giving out free drugs. Well, is it helping? No, the homelessness problem has gotten so much worse. You walk around downtown Vancouver and people down in California will say the same thing about Los Angeles and about San Francisco. It's clearly not working. Then you look at infrastructure or look at bureaucracy, look at housing. Is anything being done at a sustainable level or a sustainable speed? And the answer is no. So why are we paying so much money to them just to have it disappear? And that is a big reason why I started my search on a new home. And like I said before, Mexico may not be the most tax-friendly country, although I have friends that work remotely. And yes, they already make a fair good amount of money. But as a nomad working and paying taxes as a resident of Mexico, they were able to save 6 figures in taxes alone. That's over $100,000 that they're saving in their pocket from not paying all the taxes to Canada, in which it will basically never be seen again. It'll probably be sent overseas to support war. But at the end of the day, I don't disagree with the El Salvador president. The people that live in his country speak for itself. They are ranking as some of the happiest people of all the Americas, and like I said again, the safest in all the Americas, when they used to be one of the most crime-riddled countries. But where I agree with him on is the fall of the dollar. And I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't have a crystal ball. But what I predict and what I see happening is they're going to just keep printing, keep inflating. Cost of living is going to get ridiculous. And people are going to depend on the government for financial support. Then they bring in a CBDC, central bank digital currency, which is going to be masked as a solution to a problem. And the problem could be security. The problem could be safety. The problem will definitely look like the environment, because eventually they'll end up tying it to a social credit system that tracks your carbon and your gasoline use and your food consumption and all these other things that one by one they're looking to add in. And these aren't just predictions that I'm making out of nothing. This is from the mouths of people that are orchestrating the way they want Western society to look, and I'm just repeating it. So I don't know what the future holds, but all I know is that I got myself, all my assets, my cash out of Canada. And now I may not be a multi-millionaire, but I have met so many people living in Mexico from all over the world. And I've met some people of some very high financial status. And all of them are getting their money out, one way or another, liquidating assets, liquidating businesses, and getting their capital out of Canada because they do not feel that it is safe. Not only is it not safe and secure, but it's just not a profitable grounds for investment or business. There have been massive, massive corporations that have been leaving Canada over the last year and a half. And all they have to say for themselves is, well, it's not really a good place to make money anymore. So I may be early on this whole jump moving to Mexico, but I'd rather be earlier than late. And also this way, it gives me an opportunity to serve the people that think the same way I do. You know, I was in real estate in Canada for 5 years. Now I've been doing real estate in Mexico now for over a year. And a lot of people are seeing the same writing on the wall that I see and looking to diversify their assets and diversify their income and have assets and cash in different countries. Because at the end of the day, the more spread out you are with your assets and your reach to resources, the better off you're going to be. I mean, all these topics, I could go off for like a whole other hour talking about them each individually, which I'm sure I will at some point, especially once I start having people on this podcast. Ooh, I said podcast. And to really talk about these conversations in depth and really pull away the layers at it and to get down to, past the bullshit and see what we actually see happening. So basically the moral of the story is, from a economical and financial standpoint, I just wanted to go to where I'm treated best. Oh my God, I just realized I'm wearing these headphones again. I don't actually need to. There we go. And I wanted to go where I'm treated best and go to a country where I have no problem paying the tax, hoping there's a higher likelihood that the tax is actually being used for something good instead of bullshit. So at the end of the day, that is one of the reasons why I left Canada. I moved to Mexico. Thanks for watching. Give it a thumbs up, hit a subscribe, leave a comment, maybe ask me a question. And I'm not here to start arguments. If you have opposing views and want to make a claim otherwise, that comment section is your place to be. Again, guys, thank you, and we'll see you in the next one.